This video will explain why the Warriors will repeat as champions in 2023. The rest of the NBA should be terrified, because the Warriors won the 2023 championship without having to go to a Game 7 in a single playoff series, and they should be even better next year. This is a pretty bold statement for me to make, with free agency still a week away as this is being recorded. So let me break down the main reasons why I believe why the Warriors are destined to be back-to-back champions. The first reason why the Warriors will repeat as champions is because Klay Thompson will only get better from here. This season was Klay's first year back after being off the court for 2 seasons, and for a player that had to overcome 2 devastating leg injuries, Klay played extremely well. He struggled with his shooting in the first 10 games back, but he finished the year averaging 20 points per game while knocking down 38% of his threes. Klay was a vital part of the Warriors' playoff run, but he played pretty poorly in the finals. In the finals, Klay averaged 17 points per game, but on just 35% shooting from the field and 35% from 3. He only had one great game in the series, where he had 25 points in Game 3, but he shot poorly most of the series. In the closing game, instead of Game 6 Klay showing up, Klay scored just 12 points on 5 of 20 shooting. Fortunately, the Warriors still defeated Boston and won the championship thanks to the brilliance of Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins. With a full season under his belt, the Warriors should get a much better version of Klay Thompson next season. In this year's finals, the Warriors didn't need Klay to shoot well to win the series. Once Klay regains his shooting prowess and sustains it in the finals, this will make the Warriors even deadlier. And of course, we also can't forget that Klay at his peak is one of the better two-way players in the league. Klay took a step back defensively this year, understandable for a guy who again just went 2 years without playing. He may never be an all-NBA defender like he was back in 2019, but if Klay can regain some of his defensive prowess back, then this makes a Warriors defense that was already top 2 in the league last season even better. Another reason the Warriors are destined to repeat is the return of James Wiseman. Wiseman is a young, talented center with a ton of upside, but injuries have derailed his development over the past couple of years. Last season, Wiseman was the Warriors' starting center, and he showed plenty of flashes on both ends of the court, while still very much being a work in progress. If Wiseman can come back healthy, he gives the Warriors something they need, and that's an athletic 7-footer that's an offensive threat. Of course, Kevon Looney is very good for the Warriors, and his defense, screen setting, and rebounding is an underrated part of their success, but Looney is still pretty limited offensively. He's not much of a lob target, and he's not a threat to score 5 feet outside of the basket. Wiseman, on the other hand, is a fantastic lob target thanks to his size and athleticism. He shot 75% within 5 feet of the basket in his rookie year. And Wiseman isn't just a paint scorer, because he can also shoot from mid and even a bit from the outside. Wiseman could easily be a great scorer as a roll man out of the pick and roll next to Steph Curry. This would make the Warriors' offense even deadlier. Now, of course, Wiseman still needs to get better defensively. He's naturally a great shot blocker, but his discipline and understanding of the game still need to improve, but that's something that will get better with experience. Wiseman is known as a hard worker, so he's more than willing to put in the time in the gym and the film room to improve his defense. Overall, a healthy Wiseman adds a new dimension to an already stacked Warriors team, which is super scary for the rest of the league. The next reason the Warriors will repeat is the internal growth from young players on the team like Jordan Poole. Poole had a breakout season for the Warriors this year. In his 3rd season, Poole averaged 18 points and 4 assists per game and finished 4th in voting for Most Improved Player of the Year. He looked like the 3rd Splash Brother this season, regularly knocking down deep 3 balls, but also possessing the ability to get to the basket at will and finishing strong at the rim. The scary thing is that Poole is just 23 years old, meaning that he's still a few years away from hitting his prime. Poole will only continue to get better, and as his dynamic shooting and scoring improves, this will only make the Warriors' offense even greater. Another young player that'll be better next season is Kamenga. Kamenga started off last season slow, but ended up averaging 12 points and 4 rebounds a game from January to the rest of the season. He's a physical specimen where his size and athleticism allow him to attack the rim and finish with authority. And he showed a lot of growth as a shooter, where he shot a decent 34% from 3 on the season. Kamenga is a tireless worker and a fierce competitor. With more opportunities next season, Kamenga has a chance to break out for the Warriors, which will make the team even better. We also can't forget about Moses Moody, who was drafted alongside Kamenga with the 14th pick in last year's draft. Moody didn't play much this year, only appearing in 52 games and averaging 11 minutes per contest, but Moody is very young and talented. He's 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan, and he was a good shooter and excellent defender at Arkansas, while also being a good shot creator. In order to get Moody some more minutes, the Warriors sent him down to the G League, where he absolutely lit it up, averaging 27 points per game in 8 games in the G League. Minutes will likely still be hard to come by next year for Moody, but if he can break into the rotation, he could be a very good 3-and-D player and maybe even more. The growth of Moody should add to a Warriors roster that is already pretty deep. So far, we've discussed why the Warriors are destined to repeat while only looking at internal development. But another reason the Warriors will repeat is that they plan to re-sign most of their role players. This offseason, Kevon Looney, Damian Lee, Otto Porter Jr., and Gary Payton II will all be free agents. Keeping these guys will lead to the Dubs paying a hefty luxury tax bill. But fortunately, the Warriors management has already stated that they're willing to spend to keep a championship roster together. Of course, some of these guys may still leave for bigger roles on other teams, but guys like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kamenga will help to fill the void of any veterans that end up leaving. We still have to see how free agency pans out, but as of now, the Warriors appear to be easy favorites for next year's title. Of course, injuries also have to be considered because they can derail any contender, but the Warriors are one of the deepest teams in the league, which should allow them to keep the minutes of their top players down. Furthermore, because the Warriors have so many dynamic players, they can survive an injury to anyone not named Steph Curry and still contend for a championship. The Warriors are currently set up to contend for a title not just next year, but for years to come, thanks to the young talent on the roster. Click this video to see why the young core on the Warriors will extend their dynasty.